Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
What? American things that Europeans find weird. You're weird. Sorry. What did I say? Hope you guys are all doing well. I put my Christmas tree up, the fake Christmas tree. And my guys got the hat on, and I should use... I'll put it on another time. I have my Santa mask. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's find out what you guys think is weird about us. Predictions. Why such big portion sizes? Why are you so loud? Why are you so patriotic and have flags everywhere? Why don't you know any languages? Why don't you travel? I bet you I just nailed like 3 out of 5 of those.
Movie Pulp Fiction. You'll know it opens with a scene. If you've ever seen Quentin Tarantino's hit movie Pulp Fiction, you'll know it opens with a scene in which Samuel Jackson shows his surprise regarding the legality of cannabis smoking in Holland and the fact that the French eat their fries with mayonnaise. Ugh, is his reaction to the use of such a condiment. Well, we can tell you ugh works both ways, and there are plenty of things Americans eat, do, believe, and say that Europeans find plain weird. Today,
Oh my god. Patriotism and it's gonna be Bible stuff too. I'm just not a big... Do you know what's so weird? I do not like mayonnaise unless it's on a BLT. Bacon, lettuce, tomato. I don't like mayonnaise, but I love tartar sauce. And all tartar sauce is mayonnaise and relish. Something just weird.
we'll look at some of those things in this episode of the Infographic
Opacity
Show,
is
American
super
Things
bad.
Europeans Find Weird. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification squad. We'll stay with food and restaurants for the time being. As we've discussed in other shows, not everyone in the world is so draconian about tipping. In fact, in some parts of Europe, throwing a buck on the counter after receiving a cold beer would be totally insulting. In many
Yep, I remember. Guys, all right. If you can pretty much fast forward if you've seen me tell this story before. I've been to Europe twice, but once when I was really young. I know it was 2006 because we were in Paris in a hotel room and we were looking down and people were going nuts because France, it was the World Cup and France defeated someone. They definitely didn't win, but I think they defeated someone to get to the semifinals or something. Crazy. I thought like American cities get insane when their team wins the Super Bowl. But that nothing compared to like what the French do when they just get to the semi or quarterfinals. What was my point? Oh yeah. So tipping. It's just something that you do here. For certain stuff. My dad tips at the weirdest things. Like, in my opinion, he tips too much. I tip, like, whether or not I give a tip is if you're a delivery person, that can be for food, or if you're, like delivering a heavy piece of furniture off a truck and, like, bringing it into the house. Or, obviously, waitress. Maybe room service, valet, or something like that. But, like, my dad will, like, he'll, like, tip the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru person when he just gets a coffee. And that's ridiculous to me. But, yeah, we were in London, and my dad, he was tipping it, and he's like, no, 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 no. It wasn't, like, an aggressive, like, no. But it was, like, no, don't do that. Here it is. But I think you guys need to realize that, like, it's not from a place of, like, oh, here, you poor soul, here's some extra money. It's just like wired in. It's like what we're supposed to do. Like we're not doing it for you, we're doing it for us. And then okay.
European countries, tipping in some situations can be seen as charity. When visiting the US, many Europeans might find it weird that a waiter or waitress keeps coming back to your table. In the States, it may be seen as just good service, but to some Europeans, it can be construed as someone getting in the way of a good meal. That meal, by the way, could be about 3 times larger than many people in Europe are used to. In general, American food portions look to some Europeans like they are supposed to feed 2 people. It may also seem like an act of largesse to some Europeans when someone keeps refilling their glass of soda or cup of coffee for no extra cost. In terms of the food itself, as we noted earlier, Americans and Europeans have very different ideas about what goes with what. Pancakes for breakfast with fried chicken? Are you kidding me? Says the traveling European. And what about putting honey on bacon for breakfast? The Frenchman wanted mustard with his
I've never had either of those. Honey bacon doesn't sound bad.
sliced beef and tasted something about putting honey on bacon for breakfast. The Frenchman wanted mustard with his sliced beef and tasted something not like mustard but a sweeter version with less bite. The Italian went to Chicago and in one restaurant ordered a pizza only to be served what he thought looked more like a quiche or a cake. So, what about when Europeans head to the store? Again, the rather affable
Go to New York. New Park Pizza in Queens. Okay? It only serves cheese pizza and a calzone that is just cheese. Like, that's all you're getting, and it's delicious. New Park Pizza, Queens, New York. Best pizza I've ever had in my life.
smile and general friendliness of staff may seem strange to someone from grumpy England, where service with a smile is certainly no guarantee. In fact, it's been remarked that American friendliness can result in some Europeans thinking something suspicious is afoot. If that European is in the store to buy a pack of cigarettes or a bottle of wine, they may be extremely surprised when they get asked for ID, as that might not have happened to them for over a decade or two. On top of Europe mainly having laxer laws on age restrictions, IDing people is not such a big deal as it is in America. Only in July this year, Oasis frontman Liam Gallagher said he was ID'd in the US after trying to buy cigarettes. He tweeted, "I've just been told I can't buy cigs unless I got ID. I'm 40 freaking 4. Has the world gone mad?" Indeed,
You want the guy to get fired? Come on, he's doing his job. And Rhode Island, where I live, in New England, I would say is one of, if not the most strict states when it comes to alcohol. Like, you cannot buy it unless it is in a liquor store. Okay? Liquor store, that's it. Or a bar, obviously, but no beer in grocery stores, no beer in convenience stores. No. You're not gonna have a sip. Like, if you have a sip of your parents' drink at somewhere in a restaurant, you gotta hide it, right? Like, way more strict over here.
in his home city of Manchester, he'd probably been buying his smokes for 30 years without a problem. And then the European looks inside his or her wallet, only to see a bunch of notes that all look the same, all the time wondering how this could possibly make any sense. The good thing is, in America, you can pay with plastic just about anywhere, which is something many Europeans are still not used to. They may also be unpleasantly surprised to find out, when they do buy something, taxes get added on top of the price they saw. So they try and get back to their hotel, but have to ask the way. They are told to walk 6 blocks this way and turn left. Only for some Europeans not familiar with the US, giving someone directions using blocks may seem weird. Parts of Europe were not built with city blocks in mind and just gradually spread in a way that makes it hard to find your way around.
That's why your cities are so much more beautiful than ours, and they have so much more personality, because they're built around history rather than... America is a continent where there used to be a lot of native people here. You might have heard of them, Native Americans. Well, they all died because of smallpox and Europeans going across mainly British, and then Americans, going across. And then we just boom, here's a city, here's a city, here's a city, block. And there might be some positive to that, but it just gives the city no personality, and I prefer your way.
When they finally do get back, they settle down to watch some TV, only for some reason the shows are interspersed with commercials that seem to be longer than the actual minutes given to the actual content. This drives some Europeans crazy. At some point, they might come across World Wrestling Entertainment and be quite confused at how some Americans can get so worked up about what to them looks like an act with an ending already scripted.
This shouldn't even be in the thing, because most Americans think the same exact thing. It's mainly for little kids, a lot of adults who just want to see, when you're a little boy, you love like when you see a super jacked guy throw around another jacked guy, that's awesome, right? And so you're gonna take him. I do think it's strange, right? Also, I was gonna say,
Europe were not built with city blocks in mind and just gradually 6-block price they saw. So they try and get back to their hotel, but have to ask the way. They are told to walk 6 blocks this way and turn left. Only for some Europeans not familiar with the US, giving someone directions using blocks may seem weird. Parts of Europe were not built with city blocks in mind and just gradually spread in a way that makes it hard to find your way around. When they finally do get back, they settle down to watch some TV, only for some reason the shows are interspersed with commercials that seem to be longer than the actual minutes given to the actual content.
I remember what I was going to say. Other than the city block one, so much around, I'm noticing as I learn more about Europe, is that so much of the weird things about society that Americans find about Europe and Europeans find about America is that we are such a business-oriented place. Like, everything is business, advertisements, money. And so, like, we're just so used to it that, like, when you see an American come and just like hand you cash, it's just like what we are used to doing, right? Because usually the people you give tips to, which I think is crazy. I talked to someone on Discord about it. Like, they don't have to get paid the minimum wage because they get it on tips. If you're a really good waiter or bartender, maybe that adds up to more. But yeah, from all the commercials to the tipping to the I hate the tax thing. Why not add the tax at the end? And then you have a surcharge.
Drive some Europeans is something to start watching a news. So looks like entertainment act with an ending already scripted. You may have to be an American to enjoy that kind of drama with such passion.
You're right.
Turn over to the news, and depending on the channel, this may also look something like a drama or a soap opera to a European. They may easily believe they are watching a news satire. One of the great things in America, though, for some Europeans at least, is the fact that some things are open 24/7. Can't sleep? Just go out. Shopping hours are relatively quite restrictive in many European nations, but in most places in the US or near a big city, there is always something to do or buy in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Big city, not most places, okay? Come to around where I am, not gonna be open. That was the greatest thing about living in New York City for college. I hated it because nonstop noise. You could never really take your feet off. Take your shoes and socks off sides, outside, because like everything's dirty and everything. The one great thing is that if you're hungry at 1 a.m., you can go out and get some food. I love it.
In Europe, the BBC reported that London, England, and 6 cities in Spain were the better 24-hour cities. Now we'll visit the sensitive issues of religion and patriotism. World Atlas puts America at the top of the list as the most Christian nation in the world. In the US, on any given day, you might hear the word God or at least see signs pointing to
Vatican City, hello?
where you might find him. Well, any given day, you might hear the
Wait, Mexico? I feel like as far as North and South American countries go, I'd say Canada and the US are among the less religious. We're definitely more religious than European countries, but like I would say Mexico is more religious than the US. I'm not positive.
word God or at least see signs pointing to where you might find him. While parts of Europe are also predominantly Christian, the omnipresence of God in the streets may seem a little overbearing to many of these nations that have forgone church duty. It's the same with flags everywhere. You won't go far in America without seeing the stars and stripes, whereas in Europe, flags are usually designated to the top of poles outside of official buildings. Seeing one planted in a garden may induce a traveling European to believe that he is at the house of a hardcore nationalist, not just someone who is proud of where he comes from. Interesting side note, a 2014 survey revealed the most patriotic country in the world was Thailand, closely followed by the USA. While it may not seem too weird for Europeans,
am I a hardcore nationalist? What is nationalism? Nationalism, identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. Oh. I like the beginning of that. Okay, alright, so I definitely identify with my own nation and support my its interests, usually. But especially to the exclusion and detriment of others. No.
The fact that some Highland,
By the way, never held a gun in my life.
closely followed by the USA. While it may not seem too weird for Europeans, the fact that some people in the States carry firearms might be scary. Per capita, more people in the States own guns than any other country. While most cops in Europe do carry guns, it's unusual to see a cop in England, Scotland, or Wales carrying a gun. The fact that regular Joes might be carrying a firearm seems fairly weird to many Europeans.
I've learned a bit in videos about UK gun laws. I think they are extremely reasonable and very smart.
May not seem so strange to Serbians, who also have a high rate of guns owned per person. Size also matters to Europeans when traveling in the States. In America, everything just seems bigger, and not just the aforementioned dishes. The roads and streets seem larger for the most part, and if you don't have a car, it can seem hard to get anywhere, especially in a place like LA. The cars themselves seem a lot bigger, large enough to crush Mr. Bean in his Mini, and the people inside them also seem big on average, if not taller, then wider on average. The skyscrapers are taller, and in general, American houses statistically have a lot more space than the average European house. One survey stated that the Danish had the most living space in Europe, still much less than Americans, but much more than the Brits, that to Americans might seem their whole house is smaller than their basement. It may not be that weird, but one might ask why everything is so big in the US.
There's a lot of land. End of story. It's not so much the houses size difference that amazes me, but it's the yard. Like, I can't imagine growing up as a kid without a yard, which I know a lot of people, I grew up pretty privileged, and I'm not like, doesn't everyone have a yard? A lot of people in the US don't, in the suburbs or, the country. I can't imagine not just like having a yard where you can have your friends over and like play like 3-on-3 soccer or something.
As for appearance, some Europeans may find the amount of Americans that are continually decked in what looks like gym wear a bit strange, as most are not going to the gym. Other styles that are mostly an 80s thing but seem to have stayed around a little are the big hairstyles on some older American women. Big lips and big breasts may also be a fashion weird to some Europeans, while in the USA the president still seems to sport a fake tan. On the positive side, Americans all seem to have such perfect white teeth, quite different from those Brits. This was hilariously depicted in an episode of The Simpsons in which the Big Book of British Smiles horrifically demonstrated the apparent lack of dental hygiene in the country. So, what do you Europeans out there find strange about Americans? And Americans, what do you think is weird about Europeans? Let us know in the comments.
We'll love to hear you guys' comments, guys. Any answers to any of the questions I might have asked, or what he just said. What other things you might find weird about us? What do I find weird about Europeans? You seem to talk a lot more about the USA than the USA talks about Europe. That is a little weird. You seem to dress a bit better. I am the most, least fashionable person. These aren't things that are like weird as in bad. I just mean weird as in not normal to what I'm used to. Some, obviously healthcare and stuff like that. Anyways, would love to see your guys' comments, alright? Bye, guys.